Hello, and welcome to Divorce After 50. I'm your host, Shari Frasure, and today we're diving into an incredibly important topic, healing and moving forward after divorce. For many women over 50, the end of a marriage can feel like the end of an era, and the journey to healing can sometimes feel overwhelming. But with the right tools and support, a loving, fulfilling future is not only possible, it's within reach. Today, I'm thrilled to be joined by Samantha Tishner, a coach who specializes in helping women navigate the emotional landscape of divorce and create loving relationships post-divorce. Samantha is dedicated to guiding women through personal transformation so they can embrace their new life with confidence and open hearts. Samantha, thank you so much for being here today.
Well, thank you for asking me to join. I absolutely love the opportunity to be able to share part of my journey because typically that helps somebody else.
Right. And to start, can you tell us a little bit about your journey? What inspired you to focus on coaching work with helping women after divorce?
Well, I would have to say it's a total God thing. So for me, most of my career, I was in marketing and creative. I was a mother of two, but it was when I went through my second divorce. And my second divorce, I was at a loss for what was going on. I was stuck in a pattern. I did not want to continue this anymore. I did not want to keep going down this same path. So it was at that moment that I really started focusing on, my walk with God. And it's like, okay, God, please just help me figure out how to stop this and how do I get through it and how do I start over again? So it was through all of that journey that God just really started talking to me. And I would love to say that I'm healed. Check that off the list, but I don't think that ever totally happens. But he's got me to a place where it's like, okay, I have learned, I've studied, I know enough now that I can help women kind of get through some of the crap and crazy that we all go through with the emotions and, just that walk through divorce and what that looks like.
And you just touched on something. There is hope. There is light at the end of the tunnel. There is a new world out there for you. But at the moment, it's so hard. It's just almost impossible for you to believe it. And you start looking in lots of the wrong places to, give yourself that feeling of being wanted and loved. And I know a lot of women who are listening right now might be feeling that divorce is the end of love in their lives. How do you help women reframe that thinking and begin to see new possibilities of love and connection?
Well, one of the places that I start with any of the women that I work with is, it's reconnecting with who you are. A lot of times when we are in a marriage or even raising kids, as women, we kind of get lost. We start focusing on, okay, we've got the husband to take care of, we have the kids to take care of. If you work a full-time job outside the home, you've got that to worry about. So it is taking a step back and trying to reconnect with who you are, what your likes and dislikes are, to be able to see yourself as the child that God created you to be, to own who you are, to embrace, everything that's unique about yourself, and to be able to start trusting yourself again. For me, after I was divorced, and then after my second divorce, it was even worse. Who's going to trust me? How can I trust my own decisions to move forward? What does that look like? One of the things that we work a lot on is unpacking what has happened in the past so you can set that aside. It's never that you forget it. It's always a part of your story. But to set that aside so it doesn't muddy the waters for the future relationship that's going to come. And to be able to give yourself permission to say, I do want to be married. I do want to have a new relationship. I do want to move forward from this, and I want a good and beautiful relationship. So being able to really understand, what you need to let go of from your past so it doesn't weigh you down, so you have the opportunity to create what's new and beautiful for your future. So in a nutshell, that's what we work on. There's a lot to process through that. And one of the first parts is honoring your feelings and being honest with what comes up with you as you're going through this. And, to be able to let go of what has happened in the past, to be able to forgive yourself and others for what has happened so that you can create that freedom to be able to move forward.
And I love that. I was just thinking when you were saying that is a lot of times we feel guilty. We blame ourselves because our marriage ended, regardless of what the reason was. And we start questioning, am I worthy of having a marriage or being in a relationship? And, it may feel like it's too late. And I think that you've already touched on that these are normal feelings,
Yes.
that it's okay to feel that way and not to beat yourself up over it. And just to realize that it's going to get better. Now, you don't have to stay there forever. And of course, rebuilding confidence and self-worth, just like we've talked about, it's a huge hurdle. I know that it was very difficult for me because I've been married for so long and been with the same man since we were teenagers, pretty much. And I just didn't ever see myself not being married to him. And then, of course, whenever you have divorce in a lot of situations, you're made to feel like that you were the only reason that they weren't happy. So you have to really work on your self-confidence. And how do you help your clients rediscover and rebuild that self-love and confidence that they can attract healthier relationships moving forward?
Well, a lot of it is once you get in touch with who you are and you see the beauty within, you can start to feel more confident. And then it's a matter of working through the different areas because there may be something that's specific to your life or your relationship. And some of it may be in your marriage, some of it may be from childhood. There may be some different beliefs that you have, had in your life that kind of led to the marriage that you were in with a particular person that you were with, and to some of those limiting beliefs that seem to kind of trip you up throughout your relationship. So I'd love to say like there's this blanket formula, this is exactly what we do, but it's really looking at each person individually and saying, okay, let's talk through, share with what are the things that kind of tripped you up in your marriage? What were some of the reoccurring fights or the reoccurring disappointments that kept happening? What is being said now? What's the truth of what is being said now? And to really be able to see it and own our part and to be able to process what somebody else might be saying about us that's not true and having peace with the fact of, I'm not going to worry about that. The people who know me, who love me, they know the truth. Those are the people I'm going to center my world around and not worry about what other people might believe. It's gravitating and kind of building your tribe or your community that's going to help you to heal, that's going to help you to move forward in a positive way, and to find those people that can be your cheerleaders to say, no, I know you. This is what you're about. This is what I love about you. And to really embrace those different things from the people that are in our lives. Because the ones who truly know us and love us, they can be such beautiful encouragers to help us to get through. And I would love to say that, through the process, they're working with somebody one-on-one that, okay, we check the box, we've gotten through that. But I'm telling you, there are different times that things will come up for me and it's like, oh, I need to deal with that. And it's bringing the awareness that when something triggers you, it's like, okay, why did that trigger me? I'm currently married now, and my husband that I'm married to is totally different from the two husbands in the past. He's a totally different guy. And our relationship is built on communication, to where if we are in the midst of something and something triggers me, it's like I could tell him, okay, give me a couple minutes. Give me a little bit of time. I need to go figure out why this is triggering me, what it is, and how I can work through it. And to be able to then come back and communicate with him. All right, this is exactly what I'm feeling. This is what triggered me. This is what it is. And we will sit down and talk through it. And I've never had that before. But it is amazing that, once you start down the right path and you figure out what works for you, and it's finding that partner that complements that and you can work through. I didn't think anybody would ever be able to look at me and trust me. 2 divorces, that's a sign for running. It's not good. But by doing the work in myself and really getting to know who I am and figuring out how to let go of the limiting beliefs and the past hurts that don't hold me up, then, it makes it a lot different. When I married the second time, I had not healed from the first time. I had not done the work from the first one. So when I married the second time, I went right back into the same type of thing.
That was what makes me curious is, of course, I haven't remarried, so I haven't been married the second time. And the person I'm with now is totally opposite, and our relationship's a lot different. But would you say that because, the second marriage may have been very similar to the first one and you just felt comfortable because you knew that kind of experience and it just felt right to you? I have a tendency to think that we do that because that's what we know
Yes.
and we're comfortable with it, even if it's bad or good. It's just like any other thing that we do, we know it, so we don't have to fear the unknown.
Right.
It's crazy psychology, but that's kind of what we do.
Well, and the way that our brain works, even with our limiting beliefs. So if you go through a situation and you survived it, it doesn't matter if you survived it with good, with bad, or with really ugly. Your brain catalogs it in your subconscious and says, hey, you survived this. The next time this comes up, we're going to handle it the same way because you survived it. Even if it was a really bad way, if you think back through different situations and it's like, I've handled that the same way every time. It's trying to make sure that you go in and bring awareness to that to where the next time you don't handle it the same way. And I feel like with relationships, even though I looked at my second husband, he was different in many ways than my first. It was still the same type of guy. We ended up getting into the same type of relationship.
Uh-huh.
So, it's understanding that relationship and what it was and then what you want different. But the big thing is really reconnecting with who you are and making sure that you know, like, and trust yourself. You can define exactly what you want moving forward. And then you can take that leap of faith in trusting yourself and being able to move forward and knowing that you have a partner that is going to work through everything with you, because you will still have things come up that you need to be able to work through. And it's finding that partner that you can rely on that's going to help you to work through. You do your part and they do theirs.
Right. Instead of telling you what's wrong with you and the reason that you can't get along, that they understand that you have some issues and can relate to it.
Yeah.
So that to me is, I think, one of the most important things that people understand is, like you said, why are they reacting that way? Why, what is it that's causing them to accept certain things in a marriage? And I know this is a very controversial subject and touchy for some people. But as we're growing up, if we're growing up in a Christian household or in a church, with Christian faith, God hates divorce. And so I know for myself, that was the worst part for me, is having to accept that I was going to be a divorced person, because I knew that God hated divorce. And I didn't want to be divorced. My parents were divorced. I had a lot of divorce, in my family, and I didn't want to carry on that legacy. But it was taken out of my hands and I didn't have a choice. But I think that women, especially older women that were raised in that kind of faith, that they fight it with everything, and they will accept and put up with a lot of abuse and neglect, or, having no love, because they don't want to displease God.
Right.
And, or, go against, and a lot of, unfortunately, a lot of people in church will judge you for being divorced. And that's sad, because it really can harm a person's mental state if
Right.
they're in that kind of environment. And fortunately, I had a lot of friends that did what you said, that they supported me and they reminded me that I was valuable, and, why they liked me and just encouraged me. Unfortunately, they had been through divorce too, so they really could relate when they were younger. But I was 50 whenever I became single, and I really wasn't interested in getting right back into a relationship that I was in a marriage. That wasn't of any interest to me, because I was, I had friends, and I was, I was enjoying my life. I was line dancing. I was riding horses. I was, doing some really fun things. But in my mind, I wanted somebody, of course, that had the same values I did, but that were down to earth. So I went on a website called farmersonly.com. It was a dating site. And really didn't try any of the others, Match.com, some of the most popular ones, because quite frankly, I'd heard a lot of bad stories about the dating scene there. And I just didn't want to be on those sites because I was looking for somebody that had common interests. Well, this gentleman messaged me just very politely. It wasn't anything that there was no conversation about let's, meet and any of that stuff. So I just, had some very short conversations back and forth with him. And then one day I went to meet one of my friends to do some line dancing and he showed up there. He wasn't there to meet me. We didn't even talk about that. But I immediately knew who he was, almost immediately. And he had no clue until after we had spent the night dancing and getting to know each other. That was me. And then we've just kind of been in a relationship ever since. And it's, been a lot of fun. But the sad part about it is he didn't ride horses and he didn't line dance. He likes to dance. So we had a good time. But a lot of people, whatever, because Farmers Only is not around anymore, but there for a while it had this really, you're never lonely on farmersonly.com. That was an angle and that was in their ads. And so that went on for a long time, but he likes to tell that story too. And we get a lot of laughs out of it. But so there are places, there are those sites. I know that Facebook dating, I think, is pretty popular right now. At the same time, you just have to be so careful because people, they don't show themselves that way, and you don't ever get to know anybody till you're in a relationship with them. And most of the time, until after you marry them, you don't really know who they are. They don't show their true self, especially if they aren't a good character anyway. So that's kind of my story about my dating experience. And of course, I didn't date anybody else. That just wasn't my interest. I wasn't looking to date a lot of people to see who I, preferred.
And, that brings up a really good point too, because, when we are in that space, our friends, God love them, will encourage you, well, you should go do this. You should do this. You should get on this website. You should. The big thing is relying on your own intuition to know this feels right and this doesn't. Just being able to really trust yourself to be able to move forward with that. And, I believe that doing the work to really make sure that you connect to who you are and know what you want, that stuff is very important. So whether you are an avid reader and you love kind of some of the self-help books that really help you through things, or, if you want to partner with somebody like a coach or even going to therapy, whatever it is that helps you to feel like you're moving the needle to move forward, to move past that chapter and to be able to be ready to see that new chapter and what it can look like. I spent too many years of looking outside myself for approval.
It's just natural.
And once you realize that the only approval you need is from God, and you can turn inward and find that peace in Him and with where you want to go, that's the big thing. And also when it comes back to like divorce, and I know sometimes I had somebody else this week ask, about the biblical perspective on divorce. God does not want us to get divorced, but there's also two different marriages. There's a marriage where it is God ordained, and there's a marriage that kind of the world ordained, I guess. I never asked God to be a part of either one of my marriages until this one. And divorce is a sin. And from God's perspective, a sin is a sin.
Mm-hmm.
So if it is, you have sex before marriage, or if it is you gossip is a sin. Our society categorizes sin on different levels.
Mm-hmm.
But to God, it's a sin. And yeah, sometimes with our free will, we make mistakes and we sin daily. Not that I'm condoning, yes, just get a divorce and, ask forgiveness. But when that does happen, we ask God for forgiveness and He forgives us. It's making sure we don't make that mistake again. And that's where, healing and trying to make sure that we do our due diligence to make sure that our next marriage, yes, it's God ordained. It's, aligned with where God wants us to be in life, aligned with the right type of partner to where we're equally yoked. It's going through those steps to make sure that we do as much as we can. We don't just rely on somebody else to tell us, yeah, this is a good relationship. You turn inward to know and feel that, yes, this is right. And I know God's in it.
that is one of the things too that I see a lot of women and men do is they just rush right into the next relationship and get as married as quickly as they can. I know one of my friends, her ex got married, and or I don't know if she knew he was getting married or what, but she rushed to get married and it was a disaster. Her second marriage was worse than the first, and she regretted it so bad. But I've seen a lot of my friends do that. And, I think that you do. Is that your book, Heal First, Love Second?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that is so true. As you need to heal first and learn how to love yourself. I'm going to give you an opportunity a little later to tell our listeners how they can get that book, because I'm sure that they would benefit from reading it. Is that the only book you've ever written, or do you have others?
That's my first book. I'm in the process of what the second book is going to be. I do have another journal, which is this that's over here, and it's a 48-week journal just on healing, and it has different prompts for, hope and faith and finding your strength. And the biggest thing is being aware of your feelings, your thoughts, and understanding them. And the journal, kind of pulls things out with that. So,
Yeah, I think journaling is one of the best things you can do to heal in any situation. If you journal and write your thoughts and look and see what the words that scriptures say, that's very helpful. So I'm going to go ahead and tell the listeners how they can get your book and your journal.
okay. Well, the easiest way to do it is to go to my website, healfirstcoaching.com. And on my website, you'll see a books tab at the top, and it has my Heal First, Love Second book. And then I have that journal, and there's another one that's Turn Worry into Prayer. So you can find each of those, as well as you can find them on Amazon. So if you want to save on shipping, you can find on Amazon, or you can order them through my website, and I will make sure they get sent out as quickly as possible, and possibly with a little goodie in them. So if you go to my website, that's the easiest way to get a hold of me. There's a contact where you can ask questions. It sends me an email. You can sign up to talk to me, if you'd like to have just an initial conversation on what things might look like. But my website is the best page to be able to connect with me, whether it's social media or whatever that is. So healfirstcoaching.com.
Right. That's great. Is there anything else that you feel like that our audience needs to hear?
I feel like we've covered a good part of it. My advice is, just find that person that you can connect with to be able to help you to process the emotions. Going through a divorce, you go through a grieving process. You're grieving the loss of the relationship. You're grieving the loss of the future plans. You're grieving the loss of that connection. There's no quick and easy way to get through those. But if you have somebody that walks alongside you, it can help you to process that. So whether that's somebody in the church, if it's therapy, if it's connecting to a coach, it's finding somebody that you truly feel connected to, that you feel can help you to move forward. I've worked with a few gals that we've worked together for a while, and then they've gone to talk therapy, and then they've gone to, different coaching, maybe coming back. So if there's any point in time where you kind of feel like you're stagnant and you're not moving forward, then find your different path to kind of switch it up to help you through. Because I would like to say there's a one size fits all for everybody, but I have gone through, I went through coaching, I've gone through online courses, there's books, there's different friends that God has just put in my life that has helped me to get past to the next stage. It's open up to share your story. Sharing that helps to heal. Not sharing it in a way to where you feel like you're stuck in that negative and dragging down, but sharing it in a way to where you can help let it go.
Yeah,
Help you
I
kind of
think that.
close that chapter.
Yeah. Anytime that you've got a negative feeling, if you just keep talking about it in that same frame of mind, you're going to continue in that path. You can't get away from it if that's all you focus on. So I think just, having someone to help you recognize that there is a brighter day coming. And one of the things that at the end of everything, it just was like, I had so many people that danced in the rain with me and, were just supportive in that way too. And then the rain, stopped and the sun started shining, and then we got to really enjoy but those relationships are still, I'm so connected to those people.
Yes.
They were very important to me at that time.
Mhm.
I've really enjoyed this. I think that the things that you've said are so important. And I think, there's probably women out there that just will hear this and, really want to get better and to heal. And so you've given them an opportunity to connect with you, and hopefully they'll do that. So that's all we have today. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Divorce After 50, Navigating the Silver Split. Be sure to subscribe for more expert insights and practical tips on navigating the intersection of divorce and all that matters to you. Until next time, take care.